quite a few times, Kohberger was actually in my house, and it's, that's a pretty frightening thing to know. Very intelligent, and then
I think it's extremely strong, and the police and the investigators are not in the business of telling us everything.
I mean, it took forever for me. If there was ever a dream team to solve a crime and put it together correctly, we got him. So that's why I just sit back and now it's just going to be a slow drag. I'm close enough that he was touching their Wi-Fi, that his phone was touching their Wi-Fi.
The statement that was written by myself in my office, but the exonerated, the eager to be exonerated was his. He specifically said eager to be exonerated rather than he was innocent or something like that.
Hi everyone, hi Grizzlies. Welcome back to another episode of Grizzly True Crime. My name is Gisela K, and today we continue to look at the Idaho case. Let me start with this so that I can show you guys that, this is where the case is at this point now. Now, remember the Gabby Petito case, if you were there during that time, man, remember when we started seeing all these videos being made of Brian Laundrie's dad, like mowing the lawn and stuff like that? Yeah, we're pretty much there now in this case. So anyway, so let's have a look at this article. They say exclusive father of accused killer Bryan Kohberger cleans up shattered glass from his front door and broken window blinds that were damaged after SWAT team descended on the family's Pennysylvania home to arrest their son. So yes, there's people actually filming him and critiquing him, which is like, why? Why do they do such things? I don't really get it. All the shade being thrown at him, not sure. It's not his fault, per se, right? I mean, like, no one can calculate or know that this is what their son, and he's still innocent until proven guilty, but let's say if he's the suspect, right? They didn't know he's going to do that. So take it easy on the parents, on both sides, right? Okay, they say the father of accused killer Bryan Kohberger was spotted cleaning up debris and shattered glass left on the family's Pennysylvania property a week after their son's dramatic arrest at their home. Michael Kohberger spent Sunday afternoon tidying up the mess from the SWAT team raid in Albrightsville that saw law enforcement break open the family's front door to apprehend the wanted murder suspect on December 30th. 10 days later, shards of glass and remnants of the door's decorative glass panel could still be seen lying near a trash can containing broken window blinds that were also damaged during the bust. Now, again, I say 10 days later, people are like, why? But man, can you imagine the shock, the horror? A SWAT team busting into your home and snatching your son, and off he goes on an aircraft to Idaho, charged with 4 counts of first-degree murder. What? So that's pretty hectic, right? Yes, Shenanigan says they are already going through enough. Okay, I might just need to slow this down for a second here. Sorry. Can you guys hear me okay? Just checking. Sound check. Put a 1 in the chat if you can hear me okay. All right, so yes, this is what's happening. They're taking pictures of him. People are teasing him. Why? His teeth and his shoes and like what? Okay, let's not do that. Let's not do that. Okay, Karen says, do you think the reason the search warrant for his flat is sealed could be because they found significant evidence in there, such as the knife? I do wonder as well, and we are going to go over that document as well. I've got documents for you guys, video clips, everything. We're just warming up. Thank you so much for that. Okay. So I'm not going to read this whole thing. I just wanted to show you the state of the case. And the cases, these high-profile cases, always reach this point where now we're starting to see this. Okay, so leave the parents in peace, please. Okay, now let's move on. What I want to show you today are these articles. There's a lot of articles now of like this one. Very interesting, which is why I'm like, was he always an evil chameleon? Like this guy, definitely, this could be a strategy of his, and I'd love to hear your thoughts, especially in the comments below afterwards, because it's very difficult in the live stream while I'm presenting to catch everyone's comments. So I hope that after this video, you will leave your comments below, right? Like, I don't know what to think of this. They say Idaho murder suspect spoke about slain students during extradition. It's really sad what happened to them. Do you think that's a strategy? I mean, he barely said anything, but that's something that he said. They say Bryan Kohberger has largely remained silent after he was charged with killing 4 University of Idaho students, but he made small talk with officers while he was being extradited from his home in Pennysylvania and then booked into the Latah County Jail. He seemed really nervous, a police source who was involved in the process tells People. He was narrating to himself everything that was happening. Interesting. At one point, he was saying something to himself like, I'm fine, this is okay. Like he was reassuring himself that this whole thing wasn't awful. You see, this. I don't understand why some people can hear me and some can't hear me. YouTube is doing something. I'm going to check on my own video, okay? Hold on one second. Sorry about this. Idaho murder suspect spoke with killing me and some can't hear me. I can hear. Okay. Just be aware that YouTube is doing something. There's a few glitches lately. All kinds of things happening. Damn it, crime time with JV. There are people telling me they can't hear me. Okay, let's move on. We'll just cut that portion out. It's okay. Okay. Bryan Kohberger has largely remained silent after he was charged with killing the 4 University of Idaho students, but he made small talk with officers while he's being extradited. So it does sound like anxiety. I mean, duh, you would probably have that now, right? But then he says he was narrating to himself everything that was happening. At one point, he was saying something to himself like, I'm fine, this is okay. And doesn't that remind you of what we heard on the probable cause affidavit that DM was hearing? You know, of don't worry, I'm going to help you. That type of thing. Very, very strange things, even to narrate to oneself in this situation. Kohberger was read his Miranda rights during his arrest and cannot be questioned about the case without an attorney present. He didn't speak directly to officers about the case, but the police source says that he did make an offhand comment about it. He did say, it's really sad what happened to them. But he didn't say anything more, the source says. He's smarter than that. Don't worry, JB Gunner. You're not the only one that told me you can't hear me, though. So that's why I thought there's a problem. Don't worry at all. Thank you so much. Okay. So that's what we have there. All right. Now, what I want to do is just quickly, before we move on to what the neighbors said and people, you know, I mean, in Washington, very interesting accounts of Bryan Kohberger. What I want to do is show you this document because he's got a hearing tomorrow. And I just want to show you that so that you're aware of it. Okay. Is this too much zoom in? Okay, the initial appearance was held in this matter. You can see it for Bryan C. Kohberger. I don't know why people are starting to call him Kohberger. Byron Kohberger. Bryan Kohberger. So the initial appearance was held in this matter on January 5th, 2023. At that time, the court set the matter for a preliminary status hearing to begin at 10 a.m. PST on January 12th, 2023. Due to scheduling conflicts, the parties stipulated to changing the time of said hearing, therefore with good cause. It's hereby ordered that the preliminary status hearing will be held on January 12th at 8 a.m. PST in courtroom 1 of the Latah County Courthouse, 522 South Adams Street, Moscow, Idaho. And it's also signed. So that's what's happening tomorrow. And we'll have a look now at what exactly that is for. Okay. So just so that you guys know, if you don't have time to watch the whole stream today, just so you know what's happening tomorrow. The suspect accused of killing 4 University of Idaho students in Moscow will be back in Latah County courtroom Thursday at 8 a.m. for a status conference hearing. Bryan Kohberger is charged with 4 counts of first-degree murder for the deaths of Xana Kernodle, Ethan Chapin, Madison Mogen, and Kaylee Goncalves in the early morning hours of November 13th. Kohberger is also charged with burglary, accused of entering the King Road residence near the University of Idaho campus with the intent to commit murder. Interesting. Yeah, I have panic attacks and I narrate to myself. That's what I'm also, it could be an anxiety thing, right? So for you, it is. For Bryan Kohberger, well, we don't know if he's calculated. Is it a strategy or is he struggling, right? Interesting. Okay. Matthew McKay says Bryan Kohberger's XR screen name ties to Xana Kernodle from Star Wars. This character fell to the dark side, just like Bryan did. Very interesting. So they say at Kohberger's hearing, thank you so much, Audrey. At Kohberger's hearing on Thursday, January 12th, attorneys will discuss how they plan to move forward. The defendant could have a chance Thursday to waive his right to a speedy trial, which would allow him more time to enter a plea for the charges against him and return to court for a preliminary hearing. Kohberger remains in custody at the Latah County Jail without bail. If he does not waive his right to a speedy trial, he will return for a formal preliminary hearing within 14 days of his initial court appearance. He was formally arraigned upon his return to Idaho on January 5th, which gives the court until January 19th to hold his preliminary hearing. Kohberger was arrested on December 30th at his family's home in Albrightsville, Pennsylvania, and then was extradited to Idaho. Remember that? Wow. The probable cause affidavit, which was unsealed upon Kohberger's appearance in Idaho court, outlines evidence used to make an arrest, including DNA, surveillance footage, cell phone data, and a surviving roommate's first-hand account of seeing a masked man inside the home at the time of the murders with bushy eyebrows. Remember that. A camera will be allowed in the courtroom Thursday, but a gag order remains in place preventing any lawyers, law enforcement, or other officials involved in the case from speaking to the public or the media about the case. All right, so we've already gone through the probable cause affidavit. Now, what I do have for you guys is this new document. Thank you to the Docket for that. They say, this court having previously considered, now look at this, in the matter of application for a search warrant. Very interesting how the search warrant, okay, for the search of his apartment in Pullman, Washington, is sealed. I don't know what that means, but very interesting. Sabrina said he's eager to be exonerated. He didn't say, I'm innocent and can't wait to prove it. Exactly, yes. We had that clip in our intro as well from his lawyer. Indeed. Thank you, Sabrina. We'll look at that as well. We've got lots to go over, so make sure that if you can't watch it all today, that you come back and watch it tomorrow whenever you can. We're going to go over this quickly. Then I want to go over some accounts of what his neighbors there said. And wow, hearing is like a very chatty guy. If you missed my premiere earlier, we looked at the Tinder date he went on in 2015 and what that lady had to say. And please don't attack people who come forward. I mean, do we want to discourage people not to come forward and talk about what they know about him? You know what I mean? People were very, very ugly to her. I see it all over social media, and I saw some really horrible stuff going in the premiere chat. It was quite a lot to manage. So go and check that video out, though, if you haven't seen it yet. So let's quickly go over this, where they say, the court having previously considered the application for search warrant filed in this cause and the declaration of Dawn Daniels, Assistant Chief of Police, WSU Department, in support of the state of Washington's motion to seal file in this matter. And now I'm frozen. Isn't this wonderful? I'm frozen now. Don't we love this? The stream is not going well, you guys. Just hold on 1 second. I'm going to make it full screen. That's what I'm going to do. Okay, so just bear with me there. Yes, people were terrible to her. I couldn't believe it. I mean, I know she's putting herself out there. That I get. But damn, people were so horrible to her. I am very aware that I am frozen. And now I'm back. Okay, luckily I know how to sort these things out by now, huh? The impact on this is interesting wording, right? Findings of fact, the impact on effective law enforcement and public safety. Now, let me know what you think about this, okay? This matter is in the investigative stage, and while criminal charges have been brought, those charges are not yet publicly known. Premature public disclosure of the details of this law enforcement investigation will create a serious and imminent threat to effective law enforcement and could result in the premature end of this investigation, which could create a threat to public safety. What? What on earth are they saying? Jan says, anyone think the sheath left on purpose and other weapons used that he intercepted Xana on the way back from the door and Ethan said he'd help her? I mean, I do speculate as well. There could be more than one weapon. Especially the little bit we start knowing about him. I do think so. All right. I think I got to slow the chat just a little bit more. Welcome to the stream. Elise's like, yay, Unfrozen G. I'm coming to you live with all the technical problems today. And Pirate Radio loves it when it's like, damn, when we have technical problems, damn. Okay, moving on. So what do you think about this, right? An imminent threat, premature public disclosure of the details of this law enforcement investigation. So what they found in his apartment, I wonder what the hell, okay, could result in the premature end of this investigation, which could create a threat to public safety. Personal privacy. The personal privacy interests of the witnesses, victims, and victims' families named in the application filed in this cause also supports sealing the documents filed in this matter. Limited sealing. For these reasons, the information contained in the application and the nature of this investigation must be kept secret for a limited period of time. It's estimated the investigation will likely be concluded within 2 months. So check that out. Write that down. The investigation will be concluded within 2 months from this date, so an order sealing the file for that period of time is appropriate and necessary. Yes. The prosecuting attorney may seek an order unsealing the records if the Idaho investigation and/or criminal case proceeds more quickly than currently anticipated. For the immediate future, no action short of total sealing of the records in this file will protect the above interests. Interesting, right? And again, effective. I know if you guys are not into documents, don't worry. We're going to get to the videos and all the things in a moment. We also had one of the Grizzlies go there and take a drive by the house. That's also just interesting to see, you know, someone actually driving past there. So I'm going to show you those clips as well. They say there exists a serious and imminent threat to efficient and effective law enforcement, to public safety, and to the public interest in law enforcement's ability to completely investigate criminal activity using all the tools lawfully at their disposal to collect evidence of criminal activity, and no means less restrictive than sealing the listed documents here and will protect those interests. Personal privacy. There exists a serious and imminent threat to the privacy of the witnesses, victims, and victim families named in the affidavit, and no means less restrictive than sealing the listed documents will protect that interest for the time being. All right, so this is dated the 30th of December, 2022. So, of course, today's already the 11th of January. So 2 months. So by the end of Feb, they expect that the investigation will be complete. Interesting. Very interesting. Okay. So that was document time. Now, what I want to show you next is this over here, where they talk about this neighbor. I was just like, what? Very interesting. Didn't expect this. Bryan Kohberger was eager to make friends, neighbors say, and so chatty that one sometimes dodged him. Like that I did not see coming. I don't know about you, but this character we've been looking at, I'm just like, what? You're so chatty. He's one of those neighbors, you know? I think we all have one of those. I don't know. If you're anything like me, I'm just like, don't want to do the long chit chats. Just like, hello. So he was a very chatty one. They say Pullman, Washington. For residents who aren't undergrads, bouncing between parties and Greek life, living in this college town can feel isolating. So when Aaron Dash, a 28-year-old engineering student at Washington State University, got a new downstairs neighbor in his Steptoe Village apartment complex in August, he understood why the stranger was eager to make friends. Ah, that's lovely. Yes, thank you to the Grizzly who went. Nice. So Dash said that Bryan Kohberger, who's now charged with brutally killing 4 students at the nearby University of Idaho in November, went out of his way to introduce himself and to try to make plans to hang out. He asked me what I was studying and where I'm from, said Dash, who moved to Pullman from India for his studies. He would make just friendly small talk. Totally normal. The unexplained stabbings of the 21-year-olds Madison Mogen and Kaylee Goncalves and the 20-year-olds Ethan Chapin and Xana Kernodle at the off-campus housing in Moscow, Idaho, sparked fear across the college communities in the area. When the manhunt dragged on for over a month, people around the US wondered what kind of person was capable of carrying out such gruesome killings, and it seemed at the time walking away undetected. On December 30th, when law enforcement officials announced Kohberger as the man charged in the killings, the portrait of a loner, a gruff student of the criminal mind who kept to himself, began to form. You see? But interviews with Dash, his roommate, and others who casually knew Kohberger painted a different picture. One of a man who wasn't always introverted and could sometimes have an outgoing demeanor that left people feeling impressed or put off. Impressed or put off. That is true as well. Joe Kelly says, or he's out on his own for the first time and thought maybe being friendly would work. But it's out west, so people aren't that friendly. Should have come to Alabama. Right? Popping in and out of Pullman coffee shops, dropping by local craft beer establishments, and attempting to hang out with his neighbors, Kohberger didn't stand out as unhinged, but rather as a sometimes chatty guy whose lengthy conversations might throw a wrench in his neighbor's days. He threw a wrench in his neighbor's days. Kohberger lived beneath Dash and his roommate in a boxy unit at Steptoe, a popular development that houses graduate students. It's on a windswept hilltop, cut with roads and surrounded by similar style buildings near the Washington State University campus. Most residents in the village are foreign exchange students, many with families. In the back of Kohberger's building is a small children's playground. In front is a large blacktop parking lot. Dash's roommate, who asked Insider not to name him out of fear of harassment, we understand completely, said Kohberger gave him his phone number and repeatedly suggested that they socialize. He talked to everybody. He was a very chatty person. Not charming, but outgoing, the roommate said. He would ask me to hang out. One day, the roommate suggested to Kohberger that they work out together. He seemed like a very fit person, so I asked if he wanted to come to gym with me, he said. Kohberger had to decline because he had a commitment. Later, Kohberger asked the roommate to grab a coffee. Oh my word. Robin says, I graduated from WSU and lived in Steptoe Building J when I went there during my sophomore year. Whoa. Amazing. Sure. Okay. And they say over time, the man started to... So this is what I'm like, wait, what? They say over time, though, the man started to avoid Kohberger if he saw him coming, not because he didn't like him, but because their talks tended to drag on. He said that when he saw Kohberger approach, he would quicken his step to appear in a hurry so that it wouldn't look awkward to give Kohberger a passing hello rather than to fall into a conversation. I know if I start, he won't stop, he told Insider. Kohberger's relationship with his downstairs neighbors, a couple with small children, was less friendly. Angela, he described him as an insomniac who kept him awake at night by pacing and intermittently running his garbage disposal, sometimes until 4 a.m. She said she considered having words with Kohberger, but decided not to, in the hope that he would be equally gracious if her crying children ever kept him awake. Now, what is he hiding in that apartment, right? Outside his apartment complex, Kohberger didn't stand out to many. Cashier Julius, a bartender at the Land, the closest bar and restaurant to his apartment, told Insider that she'd have to crane her neck back to make eye contact with Kohberger, who stands 6 feet tall, when she served him. But she said she remembered him simply because of his height and the last name on his credit card. He was normal, she said. A server at brewery in Pullman also remembered Kohberger stopping in, but nothing stood out as particularly odd. But then we heard from the Pennysylvania brewery. Remember that? And there, if he had a beer or two, then he would start getting really aggressive with ladies, whether they were just patrons or whether they were working there to the point where he was on the system. Remember that? Many who knew him more closely, though, have now taken steps to disassociate from the heinous crimes for which he is accused. At Wilson Short Hall, where Kohberger studied on campus, his photo hung in a first-floor framed display of criminology students. But by Friday, January 6th, a blank space in the montage with ripped paper inside indicated that his photo had been torn out. Okay. Algo said, public safety here is just legalese, I think. Right? A criminology student named Emily, who asked to be identified by only her first name, had Kohberger as a teacher's assistant. She said that he had been gruff and difficult to deal with early in the semester. After the killings, though, he seemed to lose interest in teaching, assigning his students to write essays and handing back uniform high grades. Remember, we also heard from another one before. If you missed that, it's all on the Idaho playlist, right? Where they said he was initially like really grading them badly, like in a tough way. He was harsh on them. And then suddenly he was giving out 100, 100, 100, 100 to everyone. Very interesting. Afterward, he didn't grade at all. He was not a great TA, teacher's assistant. Nothing suspicious ever. In the days and weeks after the killing, fear tore through the college towns of the University of Idaho and WSU. Nervous residents awaited any news. Some left the communities altogether. In fact, Kohberger was one of only a few students who kept appointments at a Pullman medical office after the crimes. A receptionist there told Insider. 4 days after the killings, Kohberger arrived at his appointment in his black North Face jacket and was so friendly with staff members that they took notice. And again, students of his said that he was more animated after the murders. You know, if they look back, of course, they're just like, wait a minute. His behavior changed so much, but now they know why, basically. So even here, the receptionist is like, damn, he was so friendly. She said he's so nice and charming. So here is a different account again. I'm just like, everyone that talks about him, that ever encountered him, they kind of have a different version of him that they got to know. That's why I say, I think he's an evil chameleon. And I wonder if he was always like that. So she said he's so nice and charming. She never says that about anybody. The receptionist told Insider. I was like, yeah, he really was. He scheduled an ordinary follow-up appointment for spring semester. Dash 2 said Kohberger remained friendly in recent months and never went without his usual warm greeting. Nothing suspicious ever, Dash said. Dash's roommate said that he presumed once his schedule cleared that he would grow friendlier with Kohberger. Yet, he became busier as the end of fall semester neared. So he began taking steps to cut short his interactions with his seemingly gregarious neighbor. This experience, being friendly but not friends, is typical in the communities of Pullman and Moscow. Tyler, I say yo again, South African yo. Tyler Engebretson, a 21-year-old native to Moscow, said residents in both communities were familiar with many but friends with few. Engebretson said he was particularly touched by the killings because Chapin was a regular at his parents' vape and pipe store in Pullman. Still, while recognizing faces is easy, making friends isn't, he said. If you really want to know this town, it's a lonely town. Shame, you know. It takes a lot of effort to meet people here. And maybe he was making a lot of effort. It probably was his first time away from home as well, right? From what I gather. Yes, April says he also looks different in every book. He really does. Look at this. I made a presentation for you guys. He looks so different all the time. Now, I know this is like over the years, but some of them is also from like 2020 to now. And I'm like, damn, this guy, I don't know. I don't know what happened to him. And I'm not trying to feel sorry for him. I'm just saying, I wonder what has he gone through? Like, who is this person? I'm sure there's so much more. When I was talking last to criminal profiler John Kelly, he was like, oh, there's got to be so much more with this guy, right? It seems to be. And we only have these little breadcrumbs, just little bits here and there, but already it's like, whoa, like very, very interesting character. So I'm just showing you here. I don't know who this girl is. I just found this picture online. I wanted to blur it out, but then I'm like, but then we won't be able to see much, of him. So just focus on him, And then we've got the story of him on the Tinder date. So he was going on Tinder dates and all this. Just I'm sure there's a lot more to unpack with this one. Yes. Iron Dog says, one thing is for sure. He has great hair. Oh, man. Yes. Thriving Beyond says drugs, eating disorder, issues. Yep. So, yeah, with all these changes as well, remember there was that one friend, that person that knew him in high school. They came forward also on TikTok and then was also interviewed on the news channels, where she said that he was a heroin addict when she last saw him, and that in 2017 that he was clean. So we don't know if he's ever taken it since then or not, but that can also, of course, transform a person completely. And then he wanted to be an army ranger, and so he was training a lot and all kinds of things. Ryan asked, do you think his mistakes at the crime scene could be used as a possible defense? How likely is a criminology student would be so careless? I know, right? The mistakes, yeah. Do you think the mistakes at the crime scene could be used as a possible defense? I'm not too sure. I'm seeing a lot with legal experts, a lot of debates going on right now. Okay, so I'll just show you this quickly. Yeah, Eternal Bliss says he sure has the face of an insomniac now. He just really transformed, like matured. I know he's 28, but like the vibe got, I know it's obviously in hindsight from what we know he may have done, what he's been charged with, but it just like got real sinister real quick. And then yet there sitting next to his lawyer in that moment there, of course, it's just a snapshot. He's just, look at him. He's like, look, he's so sweet over there. What? The bushy eyebrows. Yes, April says BK's mistakes will sink him. Nina says, I love it when G says, what the hell? Yeah, so okay, that's my little picture slide. Then we have one more here. Not that one. Where's that other one? I have another one for you. Damn it. Hold on one second. Let's put the pictures back up, because I'm sure you just love it, don't you? I just really want to find it. Man, I had it earlier. It was one where a friend, one of the students said, which I actually put in my video earlier. Maybe that's why I don't have it pinned now. They said that he said, he could go to any like bar or club and he can get any lady he wants. What? Okay. So now let's look at some video clips that I put together for you. One of them, the first one you see now, is from a guy whose children went to high school with Kohberger.
A few times, Kohberger was actually in my house, and it's, that's a pretty frightening thing to know. Some things are a little odd with him. He was always like, he had to be like the number one person in the room. My son said he changed a little bit and he got pretty aggressive with him and mean to him and stuff. And my son broke off relations with him. He just never seen him anymore. When we talked to him there, everything seemed, normal. He was polite and everything. It was very, very weird to hear this stuff. Very intelligent. And then, he would explain things in like a really odd way that had to be really sophisticated way of explaining stuff.
Neil, good morning. Good to see you.
Okay, so we heard they're very intelligent, had a very sophisticated way of explaining stuff. Strange dude, right? Interesting. Here we've got Camille Vasquez, who was Johnny Depp's attorney. And she's now NBC News' legal analyst. Also, in thinking about the question I just got asked on the super sticker earlier, do you think you could use it as a defense that he was studying, criminal justice? No. There's lots of times, if we think, what was that guy's name? Let me play the clips and find his name. Hold on. Wait, there it's coming back to me. Harold Shipman. Remember that serial killer? He's like the top in the world. Doctor. Yeah, that did not help him. Okay, let's listen to this one. It was very interesting seeing Camille Vasquez here as well, talking about this case.
So size up this case. We've got DNA evidence. There's a living person who was in the home who saw some things. How strong is the case against him?
I think it's extremely strong. And the police and the investigators are not in the business of telling us everything that they have. They want to put enough to get probable cause, to get a judge to sign that search warrant.
Yeah, we won't know perhaps until the preliminary hearing more evidence in the case. I find it interesting. Hoda and I were just talking about it. There were weeks and weeks where it seemed like there was nothing going on in the case. A lot of people were quite critical of the police department. Now,
just going to pause it for a second. 1 second. Leanne says, does anyone know when and how he broke his nose? He took up boxing, so we speculated before it could be from that. Got very passionate about boxing, so I would assume at some point there. But I don't know for sure. It's just speculation. Yes, he wanted to be liked and respected at all costs.
we learned that perhaps they had been tracking the suspect since late November. Investigators have to make a decision at that point to keep things close to the vest. That helps with the investigation, I presume.
Exactly right. I mean, this is a case that's garnered so much attention worldwide, really. And so I think these investigators do not want to make any mistakes. They do not want to give the suspect any reason to have the case not go the way they want it to.
We've heard a lot about these internet sleuths. Everyone's trying to get in on the case and give their theories and in some cases name names. Do those kind of folks hurt a case, or can they occasionally help a case too?
I think they can do both, right? I mean, I think the internet sleuth, this has become something that really captivated the country, this case has. And so people want to talk about the evidence. They want to talk about the human impact. And these are college students, right? So I think it can be incredibly helpful for investigators. They pleaded to the public and asked for information about the white Elantra. But it could also be helpful, or not helpful, harmful when you start naming someone.
Yeah, especially when you don't have the evidence. These are real lives you're talking about. Camille, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
The mainstream media snark at the sleuths. It's getting old and tired. They're always like, those sleuths. Oh, man. It's like, okay. Now, here's the clips that one of the Grizzlies filmed for us. Paws on the ground, they said. I really like that. That will be your paws on the ground. So this is driving. You'll see it. By now, you should know the map time. If you don't, damn, go and look at that Idaho playlist I've made for you. The driving, you're going to see the frat house. You're going to see them drive past the house, past the apartments where Jeremy and Inan live, right past those apartments, do a turn, come back past the house, and then go down from Walenta Drive, okay? I hope you know that. Then it means you took notes last time. So just check it out. It's just a short clip, but it's interesting to see. Also, I just want to pause and say their talking was very soft. I boosted as much as possible, but I put some background music on, and it's very self-explanatory. So you're not missing out if you can't hear exactly what they're saying. So right now, the Grizzly said, we're going to be passing the frat house.
There's Sigma Chi. The King Road house is over. Nez Perth. And we're coming up to Taylor. We're going to go right on Taylor. We cleaned that house right there. So on Taylor. And then between these houses here, you can see house right
Right
there.
there. See, this
See
is
it?
that?
They said it.
Right here.
Okay, it said in front of this house right here, number 53. So do you see numbers on any of these? There's 26, 25. Yeah. But that's what that is. We'll turn around. Other numbers on those?
So this is likely where he turned around, as described in the probable cause affidavit.
Oh God, there's somebody behind us. Oh, he's probably doing the same thing here. All right, so there's. He said he was. Okay, so these are the apartments that you saw on the camera line. So he came by here, turned around.
So that's pretty scary to see. I hope you guys are following what's happening here. I'm worried that you're not. So I'm going to show you this. So they drove like this and then went down this road. That's what they just did. And they turn around here and then go back this way. That is what Bryan did according to the probable cause affidavit. He either turned around here or there. It would make sense here and then going back this way. And then he did a 3-point turn. The whole 1, 2, 3 coming back here and went round and likely parked at the back here. Okay, so that's what they just did. They turned around here and now they're driving back towards the house. And then afterwards, they're going to go like Queen Road, King Road, Taylor Avenue, and go exit via Walenta Drive. And then you're going to see the house again this way. And that will be the end of that video. Okay, so have a look again.
And then he came down and said do a 3-point turn. Yeah. How do you know? Okay. So there's the house. There's lots of campers off here. It's right here.
Right there.
It's doing a turn. And right there's where that camera was. Okay, now we go right. These people probably love it. And then we'll turn left.
Don't you think it's scary to see just how close that Sigma Chi fraternity is? It's like super close. Look at it right there.
This is taking.
Okay, well, before people are like, why do you think it's scary? I'm just saying it's like so close. When you see it on the map and we do the aerial views and everything, we can see it. But even seeing it here from someone whose paws on the ground, grizzly paws on the ground, wow, amazing to see.
Us directly on Walenta. Now, from up here, you can look down from the road and see the back of the house. It's 4:20 right now, actually. There's the house. You'll see some of the lights on in the back.
Even that view from the back, as I showed you exiting, I'll show you again. This is what they've done now. They went like this and exited out here. Now they're going Walenta Drive and driving on Walenta Drive like this. And you could see that house so clearly. If you missed the episode where Mr. Grizzly was literally with us, he flew the whole route, right? From where this guy exited, going down Sunnyside Avenue, and then Conestoga Drive, and then doing that long drive all the way, like an hour-long drive before he went back home. Wow. Then please do check that out, because I did a whole map time for you, and then Mr. Grizzly flew the route for you, so you get to see an aerial view as well. And now we've got a grizzly on the ground there filming for us.
Yeah. Okay, and then up here, if you went to the right, it dead ends, but if you go to the left, then you wind out here. So we're going left. Kelsey, show me that house that you were telling me about. It was a bright blue house. It had the... Remember down below? These are all pretty big houses. Keep going straight.
So remember, Kohberger did 3 loops. He went around 3 times in the early hours of the morning before going back there and into the house based on the charges. Thank you, Danielle.
There's Conestoga Drive. No, we're good. We just have to turn around. I thought we had to go to Conestoga.
I miss.
Okay, we're going to look at those clips next. I've still got more clips to show you. But what I quickly want to show you is because we saw media out there. Yeah, Nancy Grace is out there too. Early morning hit, all quiet here. Look at her. She's here. It looks cold there. My goodness. And they've got the route here on the map. She's got her notes out here. So yeah, the media is very much out there. And here they say predator can get so close. Okay, sorry. She's sitting there still at night. Man, I just refreshed the damn page. Hold on one second. There you go. There's a lot that happens quickly. So go back up. Making friends with Whitney and Olivia, who came to leave flowers for the Idaho victims at the same time we did. And yeah, sitting here in the evening, my view directly into the Idaho crime scene from the parking lot behind the house. I mean, it's still so sad to see all these little lights still up and everything. Oh, man. This crime was horrendous. Okay. Sorry, there were some other clips that I saw, man. Where is it? Never mind. I'll find them while I show you these clips, okay? So Steve Goncalves did some recent interviews again. So I'm going to show you some of those clips as well. And he was saying that, you know, the 12 times, according to phone records and things, that Bryan Kohberger had been to 1122 King Road, to the area. Well, here, Steve says, so he was so close to the house, which we would expect him to be, I guess, right? If he is watching them or something, that he tapped into their Wi-Fi. Yes. So let's have a listen to these clips as well.
She meant to the family. A holiday, she was the one who wanted to do the gingerbread houses and push it. But you knew, to make memories, you got to do those type of things. So we'll miss that that gift that she brought to us every single day. And she was a little ornery too, so we'll miss that as well. Just read a letter where Maddie wrote to Kaylee talking about their friendship, and you know, it was powerful. And you know, they were beyond sisters, you know, because sisters are, you kind of forced to get along. These two didn't, you know, they weren't forced. They were just like yin and yang. And I'm here for my daughter and Maddie, but there's 2 other people that are just as important, and their kids went through just as much, and their losses are just as real. Like, I was going to be required to come out and make sure that the story didn't die, and we built some momentum, and we got everyone involved that we possibly could. I mean, it took forever for me. If there was ever a team, a dream team to solve a crime and put it together correctly, we got them. So that's why I just sit back and just, now it's just going to be a slow drag.
What are you feeling now that we know who the suspect is?
I feel relief. It was nearly 7 weeks of absolutely no clear guidance that we were on the right track. We had evidence. We knew there was evidence, but all that can mean nothing until you have a face and a person, a personality to put it towards. Tell yourself to be careful, because you never know for sure. You know, it's a defendant, and it's not done. There's still a lot more work to do. So that's where we're at now. We're ready for the next chapter to be, okay, we're going to go in and, we got the affidavit and we've seen that it wasn't a page, it wasn't 2, it wasn't 3, 4, 5. It was long. It was worth the wait. And, they had a lot of evidence to show for that. So, we're on the right track and there's still a long ways to go, but it feels good. It feels good to be where we are right now and close enough.
Okay, I'm just going to pause it here. He's going to talk about the Wi-Fi here. I know it's not confirmed. Someone's saying it's not confirmed. I'm just reporting what the dad's saying here. And also, just remember, the leaked audio was completely debunked by the audio creator herself. I see people speculating whether Bryan Kohberger was wearing Vans type of shoes when he was taken to court. And I giggle like this because those are prison shoes. Those are those are not the Vans. Those are his prison slip-ons. Okay, prison issued. And then what's the third one? The third one is that he is not the DoorDash driver because the DoorDash driver has been identified and interviewed and all of that. So imagine if the DoorDash driver arrived when he was in the house. But that timing, very interesting. Okay, so have a listen to this now.
That he was touching their Wi-Fi. That his phone was touching their Wi-Fi.
What was it like seeing him in court yesterday? What kind of sense did you get from his body language and the way that he acted?
I got a sense that he was shocked that he had messed up so bad. He had read that, and I think he knew how damaging it was, and he wasn't going to be able to explain a lot of that stuff very easily. He could, I'm sure he thinks he can, but I seen a man who looked defeated, and his body language looked like somebody in shock and dismay. So I think he knows how much he has to go against, and he's the reality of it setting in. So I think that's a natural thing for girls to freeze up and lock up and put themselves in a position of safety. And I don't hold that against them. I've already checked into the could they have lived? Was it a slow bleed out or something? And it wasn't. So there's one bad guy here that I have to focus on.
Do you know?
Yes. I don't understand why the Daily Mail's outside taking pictures of DM, one of the surviving victims. Like, could you not do that? Ooh, she's running. She's at her house. Like, let's stalk her. Like, don't do that. Leave them in peace. Believe me, there will be the time where DM will be on the stand. She's going to be a star witness. She's going to be cross-examined, questioned, everything. She's already been questioned a lot and all that. I'm just saying, like, damn, all these people stalking them outside the house and releasing pictures. It's terrible, actually. So, yes.
Know of any connections between Kaylee and any of the victims and this individual?
To me, it's like 9-10 miles. I'd be shocked if these guys didn't cross each other in grocery stores and just everyday life. If he was over there for a year, I'm assuming that he followed them and he may have figured out what their patterns are, and then he tries to bump into them, or he tries to hang out in those spots.
You don't
just remember that this guy had undergrad studies in psychology and cloud-based forensics. So Kohberger could have, yes, done a lot of digital stalking. I don't know exactly what his skills are based on the cloud-based forensic studies, but I think there was a lot of digital stalking, in my opinion, before the actual stalking. Let me know what you think.
I think there's going to be some kind of connection that will explain this.
No, what kind would? My girl's bullying him, or what kind of behavior could explain somebody being this brutal to another human being? He was probably obsessed with just their overall looks and their social media accounts and the fact that they were close. I think he thought in his little fantasy world that he was going to teach a class where he actually did it. No one had a clue. And then that gave him a sense of superiority. Like, you're getting your grades, graded by somebody who actually has lived this lifestyle. I hope this story here is all about these kids.
He also feels he has to forgive the person who did this.
Otherwise, it's just a cancer inside you. And I'm not willing to live with that inside me. We're not going to walk around with darkness in our heart for the rest of our lives and have his name written there like a tattoo on our consciousness.
Okay, next we're going to look at Olivia's interview. I just want to show you the prison shoes. Okay. Slip-on canvas shoes for inmates. So this is what we see Bryan Kohberger wearing when we first spotted him getting out the car and going into the courthouse, which I can't believe the media is saying could be the Vans. When I read that, I'm like, what? They're like, he could be wearing the Vans right now. I'm like, those are not Vans. They're prison shoes. So yeah, you get all colors here as well. Look at the bad cat shoe corp. Thank you so much. There's something else I wanted to tell you, but I can't remember what it is now. So hold on one second. I wanted to show you the shoes. Okay, so let's continue to look at these clips.
I think we always presume, innocence. I don't think it really hit me until the affidavit was released and I was able to kind of read that and process that. And then you not only have a name and a face, but, the beginnings of a case against him.
You have been working so hard behind the scenes, and I don't think a lot of people realize that because in many ways your dad has sort of been the face of the family. But since the beginning, you've been digging into this and trying to find leads and sending things to the police. And you told me that, you didn't feel like you would be able to really grieve until there was an arrest made. Do you feel like now you're able to do that?
I think my family as well as myself are starting to get there. And it's kind of an odd time to do that, being that we still have such a long road ahead of us. But the relief that we all felt having a suspect in custody was, it was like, I can't even describe it. Like the weight of the world was lifted from our shoulders.
The court process now, though, I mean, that's, your dad has told me that.
I'm just going to pause it for a second. Just remember, this is a color filter that I like to put on, okay? And it's clips. So if you want to watch the full interview with everything and its original color and all that, I will link that below for you, right?
That can be overwhelming to think about, the fact that you guys are going to have to be in court. Do you plan to be at the hearings?
Yeah, every single one.
One thing back to the affidavit that I think a lot of people were surprised by was the fact that one of the roommates was awake when the killer walked by, and that the 911 call wasn't made until hours and hours later. Do you know any more about why that might be?
I don't have any other information for that. I do know Dylan is really young. And she was probably really, really scared. And until we have any more information, I think everyone should stop passing judgments because you don't know what you would do in that situation.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's people online, obviously, it's totally inappropriate at this point. And you're right. No one knows how they would handle a situation like that or what was really happening. I mean, we only know what's in the probable cause so far. Is there anything you've learned that connects Kohberger to any of the victims here? Last I talked to your dad, he said the family was looking for connections, but there wasn't anything really apparent at this point.
Yeah, I think we're still going to keep looking. I've had a lot of people reach out with, Instagram posts or even a Spotify or lots of connections that they've been able to find. And those are super valuable. All of those go over to, the Moscow Police Department as well as the Idaho State Police and the FBI, because nothing is insignificant at this point, and everything is being looked through.
There's this feeling that many have shared that perhaps Kohberger was watching the interviews, was in the Facebook groups, was on Twitter. Do you get a sense that that might be the case, that he was almost watching all of this as it played out?
I do. A lot of that comes from the fact that he had visited the home so many times before, late at night, early hours. He's presented this pattern of behavior. He went back to the home the morning of before police had been called, I think to see if his circus, so to say, had started to unfold. And I think that he would not have been able to refrain from engaging with the online communities, the theories, the conspiracies, and everything in between.
How did you first find out, Olivia, that there was an arrest?
My mom actually told me I had been staying at her house. Me and my husband were upstairs, and she came up the stairs. It was probably around 11 o'clock at night, the day before the arrest had been made. At the time, we didn't know what state, and we didn't even have a name. We just knew that a suspect was in custody.
Okay, so please remember that this is Grizzly True Crime. Please keep the chat grizzly. I see there's some filthy comments lately, which is not usually our style, you guys. Keep it classy. Keep it kind. Okay. Let's look at this. Bryan Kohberger told cops it's really sad what happened to slain Idaho students. Report. The man accused of brutally stabbing 4 University of Idaho students to death reportedly told cops that it was really sad what happened to the victims. Bryan Kohberger, 28, made the comment to officers as he was being extradited from Pennsylvania to Idaho last week. I know we saw this earlier. I'm just going through it again because lots more people joined and from a different perspective, the New York Post here. The source who was involved in the extradition process told the outlet that the murder suspect didn't speak directly about the students' murders, but did comment on their tragic fates. He did say, "It's really sad what happened to them," but he didn't say anything more, the source said. He's smarter than that. The source also told the outlet that the PhD criminology student seemed really nervous. He was narrating to himself everything that was happening, the source said. At one point, he was saying something to himself like, "I'm fine, this is okay." Like he was reassuring himself that this whole thing wasn't awful. Wow. So, yeah, there he is. And there you can see the shoes that we're talking about as well. I quickly want to find a clip for you because I want to play you the attorney. It was just the extradition attorney, right? So it's not he's got a new attorney now in Idaho. But the attorney's clip, let's find it here. I think it's this one.
Spokane spoke with the
Jason Labar says he first met his client at the Monroe County Correctional Facility.
Ordinary, average type guy.
He says the first thing he said to the suspect was, "Don't tell me anything about the case. Don't tell me any facts. That's information for your Idaho attorney."
And then I explained to him, essentially the extradition proceedings. And he was very calm. He was aware of what was going on. He was aware of the murders.
He says his client was intentional about what was said on his behalf in the statement to the public.
The statement that was written by myself in my office, but the exonerated, the eager to be exonerated was his. He specifically said eager to be exonerated rather than he was innocent or something like that.
Now, proving his innocence is in someone else's hands. Kootenai County Public Defender Ann Taylor.
When I spoke to Attorney Taylor, I essentially said, "Tag, you're it."
Labar says after reading the affidavit, he says his client's defense team may be able to poke holes in an upcoming trial.
So you have transfer DNA on the teeth. Transfer DNA can stay on an item for up to at least a year if no one else touches it or it's unblemished or something like that. So, that doesn't place him at the scene on the day of the crime. Certainly it's suspicious that he turns his cell phone off, but cell phone tower pings are unreliable at best. If it pings off a tower, you're talking that the individual's within 20-mile radius of that tower.
Labar says for those invested in this case, this is just the beginning of a long process ahead.
Interesting. Marion says the music's distracting. You know what else it is? Fair use. If you don't know what that is, have a Google. Have a little Google. So yeah, that's what the attorney from Pennsylvania said. He's like, "Tag, you're it. Okay, you take him now. Bye-bye." Wow. So here they say Bryan Kohberger's dad explained son's punchy behavior during a traffic stop. Body cam footage from a December traffic stop in Indiana, which we looked at, hope you checked it out, involving Bryan Kohberger, the suspect in the University of Idaho murders, shows his father describing the 28-year-old as punchy to an officer. Newly obtained body camera video shows Indiana State Police unknowingly pulling over Kohberger. Apparently it was not the FBI that ordered it, but it was part of a pullover plan. On December 15th, during a cross-country drive. I do still wonder why they went to Colorado first. Is that normal? I see lots of people emailing me saying it's not normal. That they first were in Loma, Colorado, like all the way south, where they're avoiding bad weather. Is it a better road? I don't know. When I looked at the map, I'm like, well, they went south and then pretty much directly eastward. But very interesting that he was in Loma, Colorado on the 13th. Don't know what he was doing there or what they were doing there. So, not saying the dad in any way is a red flag whatsoever. I'm just saying I don't know what he was doing in Colorado at the time, or if it was just on the way. So they say the video was shared on Twitter by Brian Enton of News Nation after explaining that the father and son were driving from Washington State University, where Kohberger was a PhD student in criminal justice and criminology. The dad, who is in the passenger seat, says they're slightly punchy because they've been driving for hours and hours. Yes, people have enhanced that audio quite a bit. Apparently, they were talking a lot about, we're going for Thai food. So, Kohberger, who was driving, was then let off with a verbal warning to avoid following too closely behind other cars. And then we know he was arrested in Pennsylvania on Friday. He's got another hearing tomorrow. So, if you missed that at the beginning of the stream, hope you'll watch the replay so that you can see us go through all the documents of the hearing that he's going to have tomorrow and what's going to happen. And also that the search warrant for his apartment in Pullman, Washington is sealed. All right, and then we've got just two more things to go through. Here they say Bryan Kohberger case. The footprints found inside Idaho crime scene could help cops build a case. The footprint found inside the Idaho home, where a PhD criminal justice student allegedly stabbed 4 University of Idaho undergrads to death, could help police build their case beyond the initial probable cause affidavit, experts say. However, its value may depend on what else detectives found with a series of search warrants served following the arrest of Bryan Kohberger, 28, with more than 2,500 miles from the crime scene. That's where he was arrested, right? It's amazing how many precautions he took. But then that knife sheath is there. It's very interesting. I mean, he's using surgical gloves everywhere he went, not so to not leave his fingerprints. He was putting the trash into neighbors' bins in Pennsylvania. Like this guy. In a probable cause affidavit released Thursday morning, which we went through. If you missed that, I've done a recap video for you, as well as a long stream where we went over everything. And there's a members-only stream as well, where we went over it for a third time with a fine-tooth comb. So if you are a member, check out the members-only playlist, okay? You might be missing out on some stuff if you don't check it out. Ms. Lily says, do you think them not having PPE and removing items first time can hurt the prosecution? Well, Grizzlies, let us know what you think there. American Lady says Loma, Colorado is near a Ted Bundy murder. Interesting. Okay, and then they say Kohberger, we could see the shoes real close here, okay? The Vans. They're not the Vans. The prison shoes. Kohberger, the Pennsylvania man accused in the quadruple murder, was seen wearing Van-style shoes as authorities walked him in. You see what I mean? No. As he walked him into a Monroe County, Pennsylvania courthouse last week. But those cannot be the same shoes that left the footprint, experts tell. Like, did we need experts to tell them that? Sorry, I'm not trying to throw shade. I'm just like, these are not Vans. They could be the prison shoes that they gave him. The slip-ons, because they don't want you taking off the laces and hanging yourself. Wow. Said Joseph Giacalone, an adjunct professor at John Jay College of Criminal Justice and a retired New York City Police Department sergeant. If police have recovered the shoes that left the print, they would be in evidence, he added. I wonder if they could recover the shoes. Did they ever recover the knife? Did they ever recover the clothing, the shoes? Who knows, right? Because he took long drives, so they might not have. They might still be looking for all that. Kohberger is accused of prowling around the home at least 12 times before November 13th, when police allege he went inside and ambushed Madison Mogen, Kaylee Goncalves, Xana Kernodle, and Ethan Chapin. Judge Megan Marshall issued a gag order on the case last week, barring investigators and attorneys from both sides from making public comment on many aspects of the case. Okay, this picture, he really does look like Ted Bundy here. I'd hate comparing him to the Golden State Killer, Ted Bundy. I think he's just loving all of this, in my personal opinion. But here he does like quick glance. You're like, damn, is that Ted Bundy? No, it's Kohberger. Here they say Idaho murder victim's father wants Bryan Kohberger to know that he won't be on the planet that long. Okay, Kaylee Goncalves' father told Fox News on Friday that he wants accused killer Bryan Kohberger to get the death penalty. I want this case to get stronger and stronger to the point where he realizes he's not going to be on the planet that long. Steve Goncalves said one day after he and his wife, Christy, faced Kohberger in court for the first time since his daughter and 3 other students were murdered. I hate it when they say slaughtered. All right, let's see what Sassy but broken, medic says. No indication in the affidavit when M and K's phones stopped reporting or went to sleep. Asleep or in room by 4. Car last seen 3:29. Could he have already been in the house and they died earlier than 4? I don't know. Thank you for that. Okay, let's see what Kimberly says. The I-70 goes through Loma, then Glenwood Springs, where Bundy escaped. It was Ted Bundy's route through Utah and Colorado. The I-70 through the mountains is not a safer route. Oh, thank you so much. Yes. I just see Amanda says, Ted Bundy wasn't the Golden State Killer. Is there someone in here who thinks that he was? Ted Bundy, comma, the Golden State Killer, comma. You know? When people are comparing him to other serial killers. That's what I was saying. I don't know if anyone else is saying anything else. All right. So Andrea says, what's with a sealed warrant? I know, right? What's with a sealed warrant? Steve Goncalves said he wants Kohberger to feel like he picked the very worst family to target. Every time he turns on the TV, he sees us. And every time he thinks something positive is happening in his case, he sees one of us communicating. And he realizes he has zero hope. Damn. In an interview Thursday, Goncalves told News Nation that to his family, justice meant Kohberger getting the death penalty, which the suspect faces if convicted. I mean, justice doesn't have a room where you can read books and you can go to school and you have 3 meals and you can have your vegan diet, he said, flanked by his wife. Justice is when you leave the planet and the whole world is able to rejoice and be glad that you are not there. The couple said that they were surprised by the appearance and demeanor of the Washington State University PhD student that they saw in court. I just looked at a guy that looks like a normal, everyday kid. I mean, I didn't see anything there that caught my eye, Steve Goncalves told News Nation. We expected him to be a bigger monster and more intimidating. And you know, Grizzlies, isn't that always the case? You know, people expect these killers like to look, I mean, general public, all of us, we're like, what is this person going to look like? Who are we dealing with? And it's always like, whoa, okay. It's not like, I don't know, some monster. I mean, he does look pretty scary at first glance based on what we know now. If we'd seen him before, maybe not. Nearly 7 weeks after the baffling murders, Kohberger was arrested last week at his parents' home in Albrightsville, Pennsylvania, after DNA left on a tan leather knife sheath at the crime scene came back as a match, according to a probable cause affidavit that was unsealed Thursday and revealed chilling details of the crime. Thank you, Boozy Loomer. You say, I know I can always count on you for legit updates. Thank you, G. Thank you so much. And I've got one more, then we're going to go. Is it this one? Yeah, they say the very surprising precaution Bryan Kohberger didn't take. Okay, so let's look at this one quickly. And then I think we're pretty much updated on everything. Oh, damn. Okay, hold on. Got to slow it a little more. So attorney Alan Dershowitz said he's surprised at what the University of Idaho murder suspect Bryan Kohberger may have overlooked ahead of his arrest last month. And then they tell us all the facts of the case, which we know, right? Kohberger, 28-year-old PhD, criminal justice student at WSU, was arrested December 30th in connection to the killings. He's charged with 4 counts of first-degree murder and 1 count of felony burglary. Dershowitz, who was part of the O.J. Simpson's legal team, joined Law and Crime Sidebar podcast to break down the probable cause affidavit that police released 5 days ago. Kohberger was arrested at his parents' home in Albrightsville, Pennsylvania, according to the affidavit. He made his first appearance in Idaho court last week after waiving extradition from Pennsylvania. His public defender in Pennsylvania said his client intends to be exonerated, in fact, eager to be exonerated. In the affidavit, investigators outlined how they were able to hunt down Kohberger and tie him to the crime, partly by tracking his vehicle, which was on investigators' radar for weeks, since November 29th, you guys. Dershowitz said he was surprised that Kohberger, if guilty, overlooked such a crucial piece of evidence that led to his eventual arrest. The car. Shortly after the killings, Moscow, Idaho police put out an alert to local law enforcement for a white 2013 to 2015 Hyundai Elantra. Yes, local law enforcement. A WSU police officer found Kohberger's car when searching for cars matching the police description registered to people at the university on November 29th, according to the affidavit. And then Moscow police sent an alert on December 7th asking for the community's help looking for the occupant of the white Hyundai Elantra with an unknown license plate. Okay. As a criminal justice major, Dershowitz said Kohberger must have understood that his car fit the description of the car that was seen in the area. It's surprising that if he's guilty, he didn't take the kinds of precautions you'd expect of someone as intelligent and educated as he is. That is a good point, though. Not just the knife sheath, you guys. Everyone focuses on that. But he's also driving the car that's spotted there on surveillance around the area, doing so many loops. Kohberger was also twice pulled over by Indiana State Police while driving his white Hyundai Elantra with his dad from his residence in Washington to his parents' home in Pennsylvania. Dershowitz said there was no accounting for the stupidity of people when it comes to committing crimes. Dad drove. Wouldn't DNA also be on his clothes? Probably yes. But they had to get it in a way. They had to get it, before that search warrant was executed. So one more time, Dershowitz said there's no accounting for the stupidity of people when it comes to committing crimes. They all think they're smarter than the officials, and in the end, in general, the evidence prevails, he said, adding that the evidence, as outlined in the affidavit, points to probable guilt. Dershowitz said the job of the defense attorney is going to be very daunting because there are too many things that have to be explained. According to the affidavit, police have evidence of this vehicle entering the area of the crime scene. Police said the vehicle returned to the scene of the crime later on the morning of November 13th. So not only did he go there 12 times before, but even on the day, he looped around 3 times, went there for a 4th time, 3-point turns and all that, left the knife sheath, went on a long drive, came back again to the area at 9 in the morning, between 9:12 and 9:21 that morning, and then went back home like this guy, oh my word. Dershowitz said the defense's possible argument against this evidence is a two-edged sword. A person who's actually committed these brutal murders wouldn't go back to the scene of the crime, particularly if he's a criminal justice major, he said. This evidence may not be able to be explained by Kohberger's defense team. And added, not every piece of evidence has an innocent explanation. He said that it's difficult to assess the likely outcome of this case until it goes to trial. In court, the judge will determine which pieces of evidence in the affidavit are admissible in court, if the prosecution can present corroboration, what the defense's argument will be, and whether Kohberger himself will take the witness stand, he said. Kohberger has yet to enter a plea, but has maintained his innocence. He's expected to return to court in Idaho tomorrow. Okay, Thursday, January 12th, 2023. So that's what's happening. Yes, okay. So, my word, that's it for now. I've updated you lots. We've already been here for an hour and 20 minutes, you guys. I hope that you enjoyed all the updates today. I'll keep you posted. Again, I'll remind you the case has reached that point where I'm not just going to report on every little thing like, oh my word, his dad is mowing the lawn and this one's doing this, and like only when there's something to report on will I. Please also check out the other cases that I've been covering in the last 2 days, the ones that I'm going to be covering. My coverage is always the same style. So if you like presentation time, map time, clips put together, and the way that I present true crime, subscribe, hit the bell, and come back for more, okay? Thank you to everyone who's made it over to Patreon. That is a huge source of support. Thank you very much for all my patrons. And also to all my members and every new subscriber, old subscriber, everybody. And I will see you in the next one, okay? Make sure you check out my earlier video if you missed it today. It is on the Tinder date, so go listen to that. Be kind in the comments, of course. And most of all, stay safe. Bye, everyone.